Good morning. I would like to call the meeting to order. All right, I would like to start with the approval of the agenda, and we need a mover and a seconder. Anne and Jen, and call the vote. All those in favor? Thank you, carried. And next, we're going to confirm the minutes, that the minutes of the Kingston Heritage Properties Committee meeting number 05-2024 held Wednesday, April 17th, 2024 be approved. We need a mover and a seconder, please. Gunnar and Jen. And let's vote on that, please. And now we're on to disclosure of pecuniary interest. Are there any disclosures at this point? And remember, if you discover or figure out that you do have pecuniary interest, just let us know, please. And now, delegations, there are none. Briefings, there are none. Business and pre-consultation, nothing under this heading at this time. Policy development and implementation, nothing under this heading. And we'll go ahead with stream 2 permits, approval through delegated authority, application for Ontario Heritage Act approval at 610 Montreal Street, file number P18028, 2024. And the report is attached. Ask for, could I have the staff introduction, please, Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this application is indeed at 610 Montreal Street. It's a joint venture between the City of Kingston, who owns the property, and the Kingston Native Centres and Language Nest of the old, formerly known as the Depot School at the corner of Montreal and Railway/Rideau Street. The primary heritage focus of the property is the 2-story coarse limestone building. It is designated under Part 4 of the Heritage Act. And today, the applicants are seeking Heritage Act approval under Section 33 to remove, for a series of alterations on the property. The most extensive in terms of the building is the removal of the rear addition and the construction of a new rear addition, as well as various landscaping features, including a new parking lot, storage sheds, garage, shade structures, an access ramp, and various other landscape features on the property, and new fencing and gardens, etc., which are all outlined in the staff report. Staff have reviewed the submission against the impact of the heritage attributes of the site, and against noted best practices in heritage conservation. We also circulated to various technical agencies. Most of their comments are reflected in the condition of approvals. We also circulated to this committee, and their comments are attached in the agenda package and responded to by the owners, or by the applicants. And Madam Chair, we support the proposal, subject to the number of conditions that are outlined in the agenda package. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions from the committee? Councillor Oosterhoff?
Thank you. I had thought I want to give the committee some time. This is quite a project, so I will try. I do have a few. I was hoping to hear a few more first, but I guess I'll try to initiate that. I mean, it's quite a development. I want to commend everyone involved with this, and it's going to have an amazing presentation and involvement. I was wondering, what sources do we use to come up with the authenticity and what with this? Is it all with the architect and everything? How does this take shape? This is an unusual project for us to look at, and its goals. Could we hear a little bit of how they've come to what's your experience in heritage with this type of building and relating to Indigenous purposes and a theme?
Madam Chair, I believe the team from the city and are here to speak to this if
Okay.
Jeff is available.
Hi, I'm over here. Jeff Rempel, I'm the manager of construction here at the city.
Can't hear you, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'm Jeff Rempel. I'm the manager of construction here at the city
Okay.
with facilities. We have also with us today the architects and the project manager. So like any architectural project at the city, we assemble a team that's sort of adequate for the design, and we have an architect that has heritage experience, and the client is part of that design team. So the Language Nest was with us every step of the way, guiding the design to make sure that we gave them exactly what they wanted. So they were with us making all the decisions. So this is as much their building as it is our building. We worked together in partnership to make sure we met their programmatic needs as well as their architectural needs. And then we met with Heritage quite a few times to make sure it also addressed all the heritage concerns.
Okay, well, that helps me a lot. I mean, I've went over that one. I've seen this one from the beginning coming along, so I was very curious what the results were, and I'm quite impressed. So this will come to council, Madam Chair, I guess, and then is there budgeting, or how did you come to these? Did you have guidelines in anticipation of budget?
Yes, exactly. So this project also received some grant funding, to which the city contributed a portion, and then that generated the overall budget, and then that was one of the guiding factors for the design. So we knew the budget at the beginning of the project, and we designed to it, and then at different stages, estimates were prepared to make sure that the design was still within the budget, and one was just prepared last week that we're still within budget. So we manage every aspect of the project, every step of the way, scope, schedule, budget, at all key milestones to make sure it's all a doable project.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Could we just clarify that that is coming to council?
Thank you, Madam Chair. That's what I was going to speak to. Under the procedural bylaw, because this is a Stream 2 permit, if committee, the owner, and staff are all agreeable with the recommendations and the conditions, this will be approved at the director level and will not actually come to committee, or actually come to council.
Thank you. Any more questions? Yes, Gunnar.
Your mic, Gunnar.
Madam Chair, thank you. I followed this project through the Wednesday meetings, and I would like to know if the generation we saw at the most recent Wednesday meeting is what's being proposed today.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I believe no substantial changes or no changes have been made.
Thank you.
Any more questions from committee? All right, and now this is an opportunity for the public. You will have to come to a mic, state your name, and you get 5 minutes to speak. Anyone from the public wishing to speak?
Well, just to comment that I think the roundtable Wednesday meetings on this application were very helpful and productive, and certainly as a member of the public, I was quite pleased with the way that this application has developed. Thank you.
Thank you. And does staff wish to respond to that? Now, we need to get this motion on the floor, so we need a mover and a seconder. Ann and Gunnar. And now, final comments, please, if required. Ann.
I just wanted to say the roundtable meetings about this project were really informative, and I really congratulate the architect and the working group on this project because it's going to be very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments? Great. So we're going to call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried.
It's like 4 pages.
All right. And we are now looking at application for Ontario Heritage Act approval at 160 Belmont Avenue, file number P18-037-2024. And if staff could introduce it, please. And I think it's Ryan.
Yes, it's me, Madam Chair. Happy to introduce this one. This is at the corner of Belmont Avenue and Chamberlain Crescent in the Henderson Place area. It was recently designated under Part 4 of the Act. The owners are requesting approval to remove a single-story rear addition, likely built in the 1950s, and replace it with a larger single-story addition in the same location. This is to provide additional living space, storage space for the owners who wish to build an all-season family room and attached garage in this location. The owners have designed the addition to be considerate of the heritage features and value of the building by proposing a shallow pitch roof in order to be mindful of the window openings on the north elevation, and to clad the addition in a complementary board and batten style siding, and locating it in a discrete location on the property. So we circulated this to the usual technical agents. Building permit has already been submitted and is currently under review. Our engineering reminds the owners that drainage is to be addressed and to ensure that it doesn't drain onto the neighbor's property. There are a few details that need to be ironed out with planning to ensure zoning is being compliant, and that'll be addressed through building permit. We also circulated this committee who received 3 comments from members. None have raised any substantial concerns. And Madam Chair, we recommend conditional approval of this application. Thanks. Oh, and the applicant is here. Should you have any questions for them?
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions from the committee? Yes, Gunnar.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Although this has been around the roundtable meetings, which I did not attend, and I apologize for that. However, just reviewing the drawings, and although it's not a heritage issue, I'm concerned about the drainage of this flat roof, its adjacency to the existing building, possibility of snow or ice damming on that roof structure. That is one. Item 2 is I find that the window and door configuration is not compatible with the siding that's being proposed. And I wonder if this can be corrected during the meeting, or if the owners are prepared to address both issues in the process of developing this project.
Thank you, Gunnar. So I gather the applicant is here, and can they answer the question then, right now? Or could Ryan answer it?
I'll start, Madam Chair, if that works. Certainly the drainage is not a heritage concern, or not a heritage matter, so it's not appropriate in this venue, but I can assure the owners aware of it, and we'll be addressing that at building permit stage, so that's part of their purview. As a staff, when we reviewed it, we had no concerns with the fenestration of the building. It was appropriate in terms of what the owners need and for the building addition, which will be largely out of view from the public. How it works with the siding is a concern that the owners will have to address with building staff. So, but the owner is here if they perhaps want to add anything to that, so.
All right. Thank you. Could you just say your name, please?
Hello. Hi, my name's Ian Edgington. I'm the owner of 160 Belmont. As far as the drainage goes, we've had a survey completed last week, and it's not a concern because the lot drains from the back to a swale. So the slope of the roof would actually direct the water directly to the natural drainage of the property. So that should work out well. As far as the configuration of the windows and doors, I'm open to hearing what you guys recommend. I have no concerns with that, so happy to work within your design parameters.
Thank you. Any further comments or questions, Gunnar? Sorry.
The concern I raised was not the drainage from the building to the lot, but the drainage within the roof itself. It is too flat, and considering that the garage is not heated, you're asking for an ice dam to develop, which quite readily can go and build up to leak back into the house. And it requires fairly considerable measures to avoid that. Has that been done? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. And I think that that has been addressed by staff. Terrific. Okay. Does anyone from the public wish to speak? All right.
Don Taylor.
Oh, Don Taylor.
Sorry, just a quick comment. No real concerns, but I notice, I'm pleased that there are choices for wood, board and batten siding, but I understand that the windows are proposed to be vinyl, and from a heritage point of view, wood windows, painted wood windows are preferred. They're somewhat visible to the public. Anyway, that's just a suggestion. Thank you.
Thanks, Don, for your comment. Any other members of the public? Okay. Now we need a mover and a seconder for this motion, and that's Peter and Councillor Oosterhoff. And now the committee can make final comments if they wish. All right. And it appears that there aren't any, so we'll call this to a vote. All those in favor? That is 5-4. All those against? Okay, so, all right, that passes. And now we're moving on to Stream 3 permits. Approval through council authority, and this is application for Ontario Heritage Act approval at 3867 Smith Road, file number R01029-2024. Could we have staff introduce this, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to take a second to just set the stage for this one a little bit, because it's an application that committee doesn't see very often, and following our January 1st, 2025 deadline, may never see again. So I wanted to just share with you what we're looking at. It falls under the category in your agenda as Stream 3, but it's not actually a Stream 3 permit. This property is listed only. It's not designated, it's just listed. So what is required from the owner is if they wish to demolish a building on the property, they need to give the city notice. So that's what before us today is a notice saying that we are planning to demolish 2 of the buildings on this property. So the committee, council, has the chance now, they have a little extra time to decide if what is being demolished is so detrimental to the heritage character of the property that we need to rush a designation to stop it. That's it. That's all that is being asked of the committee and council through this process. We don't have an opportunity to input on the design of the new building beyond zoning and building code, which is not part of this process, but the city, beyond that, we have no input on the design, location, size, use of that new building. So just to be clear, the question before committee today is whether what's being lost through the demo is worth rushing a designation for. So just keep that in mind. The property is on Smith Road. It's known in our early reviews as the Hiram Smith Farmstead. The property is 36.5 hectares. It includes the primary feature of the property is a 1.5-story limestone farmhouse that was built in the 1860s and a collection of outbuildings. The applicant has given their notice of intention to demolish 2 of the existing outbuildings through section 27 sub 9 of the Act, and to replace them with a single larger outbuilding in the same location, orientation, and footprint of the existing buildings. A demolition permit has been submitted through building, and the applicant has provided a heritage assessment prepared by Heritage Studios to look at the value of these buildings. So the proposal to replace the 2 aging outbuildings in the same location has the potential to both enhance and negatively impact the cultural heritage value of the site. The new building will allow for the expanded agricultural use of the property, which will help reinstate the property's historic and tangible cultural heritage value and provide additional income to support the retention and restoration of the existing farmhouse and outbuilding. However, the loss of these 2 buildings, particularly the granary building, will remove some of the historic farm buildings that contribute to the overall property's value. So that's the balance that we're trying to strike today. The HIS that was provided by Heritage Studios notes that the garage itself does not have cultural heritage value on its own. However, in some degree, it contributes to the overall property as a mid-19th century agricultural landscape. The Granary Drivestead building, however, has some individual heritage value as well as its contribution to the overall property as a rare surviving example of a late 19th century granary. So the subject property, as I mentioned, is only listed. It is on our work plan to advance a designation of this property in the very near future. Despite this, the proposed demolition, in our opinion, does not create a significant impact that warrants an immediate action, immediate designation to preserve its value. Staff agree with the HIS, the findings of Heritage Studios, namely that while some of the physical value of the property will be lost, it will be in service of helping to rehabilitate the historic and ongoing agricultural use of the property. Further, the newly proposed building will help retain and augment the property's intangible value, as it will allow for the 175-year-old ownership by the Smith family to continue and help reinstate the thriving agricultural use of the subject property. And as such, Madam Chair, the property does not require, in our opinion, to be designated urgently to preclude this demolition, and our motion is before you. Thanks. Oh, and the owner is here too if you have questions.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions from committee? Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Ryan, for that explanation. I know last time we had a demolition, we ran into the same sort of cyclical problems. However, I totally agree with what you're doing, but I don't like that word demolish. And I have an amendment. You can't move it yet. It cannot be amended.
Through the chair, the item is not on the floor yet to be amended. So this is an opportunity to ask questions. When the item is moved and seconded and on the floor, that is when amendments can be made.
Okay, I will be putting forward an amendment to this motion which suggests that it is not demolished. in the way that a great big bulldozer is brought in and knocked down in 5 minutes, that it is taken apart carefully and historically recorded, and the amendment will also give places of help for that. And without speaking for Councillor Oosterhoff, he was present at a presentation on barns showing the ability that is around to record such a barn as this. So in favour of the action that's being done, but not the way it's being done. Thank you.
All right, any other questions for staff? Okay. And are there any members of the public who wish to speak now? And Don Taylor?
Thank you. Since the property is not designated, I noticed that in the Heritage Studio document, there were some suggestions for improving the design of the new outbuilding. And of course, those are not will not be binding on the applicant. I just wondered whether you have any indication that the applicant would be sympathetic to those suggestions.
Come to the mic and say your name, please.
My name is Martha Vienendahl. My maiden name was Smith. My great-great-grandfather, Hiram Smith, settled the farm on which the property is. Yes, we are very amenable to following some of the suggestions that the Heritage Impact Survey did suggest. Far as the demolition goes, we are intending to take the building down carefully and possibly reconstruct the granary after the building in question is rebuilt. Can't think of any other questions that someone might have. Anybody? No? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. And any other members of the public wishing to speak? Great. And we need to get this motion on the floor, so we need a mover and a seconder. Jan and Councillor Oosterhoff. And final comments from committee.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'd still like to go ahead with this amendment, having heard the owner speak, basically to show on paper that I hope to show that this committee is in favour of exactly what they are doing. So the motion is now up on the screen. And I have suggested that the words "and no further action be taken" be deleted and added instead with the understanding that firstly the building would be photographed, measured and documented with help from your own barn study in conjunction with the Ontario Barn Preservation Group and the University of Guelph, or with help from a similar group, and that the building will be carefully deconstructed rather than demolished to preserve as much of the original materials as possible for future rebuilding on another site with the assistance of such groups as the Ontario Barn Preservation Group. And I didn't put in there the addresses and contacts, but we can certainly give those. So that is the motion, and then Ian added on the reading, and I won't go through that unless anybody wants me to, at what it will read if that is approved. Thank you. Looking for a seconder. Thank you.
Seconded by Ann Stevens. Thanks, Ann. All right. All right, now we're going to have comments on the motion to amend. Councillor Oosterhoff?
Yeah, I just want to commend the mover and the seconder. It's a good catch, really. I was bothered by reading it as well, but wasn't as familiar as I should be with that file. So I think this is important, and we'll continue then to preserve some history, and that was so important to our city and the province, really. And so I think this is something that should be valued and supported.
Thank you. Any other comments? Anne?
One of the reasons I support this is to protect a rural property. And I grew up in a rural community that is now a subdivision on top of other subdivisions. So I really believe that this project is a good one. I think the intentions sound wonderful on the owners, and I just hope that there would be some way of preserving the granary bins, because they definitely are very historic in nature. Thank you.
Thank you. And any other comments from committee? And, oh, we have Alan McLeod. Thank you.
Thanks. I had gotten a heads up through staff that this question might be coming, and I would recommend that the motion also refer to section 2711 of the Heritage Act. 27.9 is the one that talks about the process you're doing right now of the consent step. But under section 2711 of the Heritage Act, it says, the notice shall be accompanied by such plans and set out such information as council may require. So we have in this situation the HIS, very detailed, and as I understand from the discussion to this point on consent, there's going to be certain further steps that are in line with the wording here. So if we refer to section 2711, it's just confirming that this is additional information in relation to this consent, and therefore it doesn't become or look like in the future a one-off that you've done something creatively, but it's actually quite in line with the statute. And so it's like an extension of the HIS.
Okay, so how are we going to include that? All right, Peter?
No, I would thank you, Alan, for that. And without making Ian rewrite the whole thing, I think I can accept the suggestion that you're simply going to add those two references. Thank you very much, both of you.
Yep, through the chair. After the vote in the minutes, I'll work with Alan to make sure it includes that. But if you're happy with that as a friendly amendment, that's more than fine. Thank you.
Great. Any other comments from committee? All righty. So we're going to
Vote on the motion to amend.
We're going to vote on the motion to amend. All those in favor? Okay, that's carried. And now,
We're on the motion as amended.
now we are going to, do we want some discussion or no? No, okay. So we're going to have the motion, the amended motion, we're going to bring that to the vote. All right, so all those in favor of the amended motion, and that's carried as well. Great. So we're moving on to notice of intention to designate under the Ontario Heritage Act at 163 Brock Street. Can we have the staff introduction, please, Ryan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So this report is just is to bring back a designation proposal for 163 Brock Street, the Dupuis House. It's in response to, in response to a letter of concern that was received by the owners in March. The committee passed a motion to defer this address to this meeting from last meeting, and to allow the chair to have a chance to discuss concerns with the owner. The Dupuis House satisfies 4 of the 9 criteria, which is far more than it needs to be eligible for designation. The bylaw was prepared by staff, reviewed by the working group, and supports the designation of this property. The committee chair and staff met with the owners of this property to discuss their concerns. No changes to the draft designation bylaw were requested during or after that meeting. So staff recommend proceeding with serving the notice of intention to designate the Dupuis House at 163 Brock Street. Thank you.
All right. Are there questions from the committee? And seeing none, is there anyone from the public who wishes to speak? Okay, none. We need a mover and seconder. Peter and Gunnar. And now, any final comments from committee? All right. And you have a recommendation recommendation in front of you, and now we'll take the vote. All those in favor? All right, that's carried. And we're moving on to working groups, nothing under this heading. Permit approvals and status updates, and this was in the agenda. Are there any questions about those permit approvals that were in the agenda? Okay, and motions, there are none. No notices of motion, no other business. Oops. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Madam Chair, before you close the meeting, before I get a chance, I would, if I could, draw your attention to the package that Ian has put at the end of this agenda. I think it's your page 247, because there are 4 articles in a row, which I hope you read. 247 points out that the Community Heritage Ontario Conference next year is in Prince Edward County. It's mid-June. I know you can't make arrangements for it yet, but it's well worth attending if you can keep. It's 2 days, I guess 1 night and 2 days. When you go on to the next page, you find an article which I am so pleased with from Shirley Bailey, who isn't here today. She's traveling, thanking the Heritage Department here publicly throughout Ontario for the 311 listings which have resulted from that, what we at first thought was a disastrous, some of us, I should say, Councillor, moved by the Conservative government on heritage properties, and it really says all that we've been trying to say in the work that the department here has done, and I really thank her for going public. Following that, Don Taylor, Don, you're here today, you told me you weren't going to be here, gives an article on 2 situations which previous versions of this committee have faced in trying to read a building, and in both cases making errors in thinking what was original and what was an addition, and finally deciding that actually what we thought was the addition was the original. And just to prove that that isn't just Kingston, the 4th piece is from Heritage Grey Highlands, which was my home before here, with exactly the same problem. And the farmhouse's photograph there could well be the photograph of our house. And we were in the same situation. We thought we had a house with a kitchen added, and we didn't. We had a kitchen with a house added, which we found only, in this case, when rats ate through the brickwork inside and found it was triple brick. The original building, a single brick, the addition was double brick, and so we had this strange triple brick wall, which when you investigated, found out what it really was. But if you could spend time looking at those pieces, I think it's well worth reminding us the importance of heritage committees and finding out what is really going on. Thank you for your time, all of you.
Thank you for your comments. No other business. The date of the next meeting is, and we've discussed correspondence. The date of the next meeting is scheduled for Wednesday, June 19th, 2024 at 9:30 a.m. And we can move to adjourn. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Jan and Councillor Oosterhoff. Terrific. Thanks, everybody.